Hey, what's up? Oh, you're muted. Oh, there you go.
You hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
we're good. We're good.
All right. So, we're back. It's Tuesday. It's the Big Three podcast. Normally, Jordan would be here, but he'll come in a little bit later. And just want to say what's up to you guys on YouTube and Facebook. How you doing? And as we're going through, drop a comment, interact with us, and you might see it up on the screen. You can kind of help direct the conversation. But I guess before we get into this, how's it going, Dylan?
It's pretty good. First week of the NFL season's done. It was a pretty exciting week, I would say. Definitely a good first week of games. Definitely happy about that Seattle outcome. So that's definitely nice. That was definitely a fun game to watch.
Yeah, when I was watching it and that field goal was missed, I first person I thought about was you were probably sitting in your living room, whatever, and celebrating. So,
Well, I was actually at work, so I was watching
oh,
the
okay,
game.
okay.
Like I was just moving around a cart and watching it around work. So
Hmm.
I was pretty excited. Buddy I work with is a Broncos fan, so it's definitely fun just bragging that whole time.
Okay. I mean, I'm not even a Broncos fan. I don't really like the Broncos either, but I am a Russell Wilson fan, so that's
Oh, I mean, so am I, but it was definitely nice beating him in Seattle.
yeah. Um, so I guess until Jordan gets on, we can kind of get started. Um, and I guess for you listeners, those of you watching, I should say. Last week we talked a lot of NFL because it was the first week, but this episode we are going to talk about stuff that's happening in other leagues because there were a couple of big stories somewhat around the sports world outside of the NFL, even though the NFL did control the weekend. And I think we should get started with Major League Baseball. Now they're a league that's known to kind of be a little late when it comes to like innovation and all that. And this past week, they announced rule changes for next season. And I'm happy they're doing it because something needed to be done. The game can be a little bit boring to watch. And I guess quickly, you know, there's a lot of points for each of the rule changes. So I'll kind of highlight on the more important ones and then we can kind of discuss whether it's a good thing or not. The first thing is the pitch timer, which I'm for. The minute I saw a pitch timer, I didn't care what the timer was. I was for it, but it's basically like once a batter's announced, they have 8 seconds to get into the box. Otherwise, they get an automatic strike. For a pitcher, once let me see how it goes. So the pitcher has to be in motion before the pitch timer's up. And for pitchers, it's like 15 seconds with no one on base, and I think it's a 20-second timer with runners on base. But if a runner moves to a new if a runner steals second, the timer of course starts over. That makes sense. And I think pitchers are only allowed two pickoff attempts at a base, and if they try a third one and it's unsuccessful, the runner gets to move to the next base. Um, Now that's pretty much the biggest part of the pitch timer rule. So, I mean, Dylan, are you a fan of that, or would you like
I
to
mean,
see that maybe change a little?
yeah. I've just started recently getting into baseball. Like the last couple seasons have been my first, and I will
Hmm.
agree. Like one thing that has been pushing me away from baseball is the concept. Like it just feels like it takes a while. It feels like games take a little bit. Like the sport itself I really like and I think it's fun, but the concept it just kind of feels dragged out. So them just like increasing just like little timers and things like that so the game has more of like a flow to it and just more
Hmm.
of like a pace. Like I feel like it's going to be good for a lot more people to understand. I also do like the pickoff attempts. I mean, I don't like the concept of like if you think you're going to steal the whole time, technically the pitcher could just keep throwing to first that whole time and the amount of time that could like potentially take up. I like the
Hmm.
concept that you have so many attempts before you have to go or before like the runner gets advanced. I think that's something that's nice.
Yeah, and also for that, even with batter once they reach first or second or whatever, Now they can keep that in the back of their mind that, oh, they've thrown over here twice. That means if they throw over again, I might get the base if they're not, if they don't pick me off. Now I can kind of time them better and I can take off on that next pitch, hoping they don't throw over. So it could create some movement on the base pass because I do think that's an issue baseball has where it's become more of a base to base stationary type of game or a home
Hmm.
run. That's basically it. And where baseball is lacking compared to other sports is that, like, if you watch basketball, it's constantly up and down the court, unless there's a timeout, of course, but that's, you know, you can handle that. Soccer or whatever, constantly moving for 45 minutes, then you have halftime. For baseball, you could see a pitcher throw a pitch and they may not throw another pitch for like another 2-3 minutes, and you're just sitting there like, what are we doing here? So I think it's a great thing, something that they probably should have done some time ago. But we know baseball, I guess, traditionalists, they kind of like the game the way it was. But this should bring in more of probably a younger crowd. Um, the next rule change was the shift, which has been a major talking point for baseball the past couple of years, where we're seeing more and more teams when certain hitters who may have a pull tendency or kind of mainly power hitters, they'll shift the like third infielder over to whichever is their pull side, and then they'll put sometimes like a shortstop or second baseman like out in short left or short right. And I'm sure hitters are gonna love this move because now some of those base hits that they normally would have, they can kind of get those again. So quickly with the rule, it's the four infielders, so your first, second, third, shortstop, have to remain on the dirt. So you can no longer put any of them out into the grass, into short right or whatever, like I said. And there has to be two infielders on each side of second base. And you can't have infielders switching positions either, because that was kind of a new innovation to the switch where if you're putting three to the right side, you may have your shortstop as the only one on the left side and move your third baseman kind of to the second base slot. So I guess that's going away now. But yeah. So what do you think about the shift? You a fan of that?
Um, I'm a little indifferent. Like I said, I'm a little new to baseball, so like when I've heard about the conversation about this, I was just kind of like, oh, like is it really that big of a deal to having the shift in baseball? Well, like having it in before.
I mean, it's like I get it because technically, for a manager, when your team's in the field, you're supposed to put your players in the best position to prevent the other team from scoring. I think it's just mainly one of those rules where they want to get more players, I guess, on the base paths and hopefully get more movement with the previous rule. Because a lot of times, like I said, you would see, guys hit a ball in a place where it should fall like in front of the outfielders, but now you have like a random second baseman there that takes the hit away. So it will ease the frustration of some hitters. I can't agree with you that it may not have been the most pressing need in terms of a rule change, but I get why they did it. If that it's like, but I mean, like you said, it's not the biggest deal.
I mean, I look at it like I get it in a terms of like an entertainment standpoint. Like if it's gonna create like more hits and more action, I get the concept of that. But like, man,
Mhm.
it's gonna suck in like playoff time when like some of these teams like use that shift as like actual like good strategic purposes. So like I feel like if teams that do use it like that are gonna and like actually have game plans that require specific things like that, like that's gonna kind of harm them a little bit. But if it's creating more action for the game, then that's what the MLB wants is just more action, so they can
Mhm.
create like more people to come in. I get that. I get that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they had to weigh. You're taking a strategy away from teams, but hopefully it makes the game more exciting for the fan bases. And because it's one thing being in the ballpark and watching the game as opposed to sitting at home and watching it. Because if you're in the ballpark, I mean, you're fine if like nothing's happening because there's something in the crowd that may take your attention, or you're getting up and getting something to drink or eat or something like that. But sitting at home, whatever's happening on the field of play is what you're stuck watching. So, I mean, it's fine. It should help batting averages, and I think the worst thing would be if you start getting more people on base, but they're not running, then it still becomes stationary. So it wouldn't really change much, but I'm for it, I guess. Um, then the last one, which is probably the one nobody really saw it coming, but I think this one gained some traction kind of late in the process, but they're going with bigger bases now, except for home plate. It's going to stay the same size. But I think the current bases were like 15 by 15. They're going to 18 by 18 now. And I think there's like a couple of reasons for that. One, I think they're hoping bigger bases promotes more base stealing. I guess you're shortening the distance between bases. It's a few inches, but with bang bang plays at second base, those inches can mean a lot. And the second reason is, a lot of times where a hitter is legging out an infield hit, there's a bang bang play at like first base mainly, and there's been a few times where the runner has like clipped the back of the first baseman's leg, and then that could create an injury risk for those runners. So I think that's probably the majority of the support for the bigger bases, but I do think secondary they would like to see more movement on the base pass because of it. And so once again, I mean, like you said, you are new to baseball and everything. Does that?
Um, I mean, one thing this makes me like realize is like defense is going to be valued a lot more now, especially with all these changes. Like the players who are great defensively, obviously they're valued now, but like they're going
Mhm.
to be valued even a lot more, especially when you're going to have bases that are going to be bigger. You're not going to allow to have this shift anymore. So I feel like those players who are really great at defense are going to be like you're probably getting their bag soon and be like more valued as players, especially if this is going to be a lot harder. I agree with it in the concept if we're just going all throughout entertainment. Like all the choices they seem like they've made so far and all these rule changes have been like mainly in the purpose of like getting the game to be more like exciting, entertaining, like doing more things to make the game like more watchable, probably
Mhm.
for the fan base and then just people at home. So I agree with it in that sense. It's always hard when it comes to rule changes that hurt defensive players and hurt defensive just defense just in period. It's a lot harder for me to be like super supportive of those changes because at the same time it's been these ways for a little bit now. I imagine
Mhm.
they haven't changed the base sizes in a while if they've ever about all at all. So it's a little tough to see, but like with any changes, like it's gonna happen, and I imagine once I see more exciting games, I'll be like, okay, this is like worth it. Like this is fine. When I see a lot more people stealing, like I'll probably be down for it.
Right. All right. Looks like Jordan. What's up, Jordan? How you doing, man?
What's going on? What's going on, y'all?
All right. I don't,
Crazy week one of NFL, right, fellas?
exactly. And we haven't gotten to the NFL yet, so
Oh, shoot,
no, I'm
shoot.
saying you didn't miss that yet. I know you
Word,
have a
word.
lot to talk about. We
Yeah,
were just
man.
talking about the baseball
Yeah,
changes.
I was in the car reading like an article and like just
Hmm.
give me some more information. It's like, I mean, some of the players are kind of like in agree, and like they all agree. Like some players because like they tried the in the article I read, they tested out the pitch clock in the
Hmm.
minor league, and usually minor league games are in there like 3 hours, and it
Yeah.
cut it down to like 2 hours or something minutes. I mean,
Hmm.
we'll see how the MLB. I mean, it reminds me of like the shot clock in the NBA. How like you need to because some pitchers do take long to get the ball out their hands, but then with the big bases, I heard it's like they're gonna do like they were 15 inches, I think, and they're gonna do like 18.
Hmm.
So a little bit bigger, like you said, for safety. So not big changes, but like or changes that who knows, but it might be good.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I think the pitch clock is the major one, and
Oh,
of
for course.
course, a lot of pitchers aren't going to be in favor of it. But pitchers, it's I mean, they're a special breed in baseball. They don't really like a lot of changes when it comes to, their approach at the plate and all that, because they're used to, if they throw a pitch, some of them, like to step off the bag, kind of gather themselves, mess with the rosin bag and all that. Now some of that's being taken away. So with, some athletes are creatures of habit. It may take them a while. So I'm sure we'll see several instances next season where, having automatic balls and strikes because people forget the rules real quick.
Yeah, I think I read an article, or in the article I wrote that the only problem with like the whole pitch clock is like when it's like a count 3-2, and like you don't know what pitcher's gonna like pitch what pitch, and that with that clock you only have like what 12 seconds to get the ball out, I think, or like 15 seconds.
It's 15.
So at the end of the day, like the MLB, we've seen like they want to because people have talked about like baseball is like one of the longest games to watch in person. And the baseball has MLB has tried to speed the game up, especially in like the extra innings where they have a ghost runner. Usually teams have to earn. Back in the day, teams had to earn to get that second man on base. Now, and then not 10th inning, they automatically put a guy on second. So they're slowly trying to get the game involved or evolved. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Like, there's gonna be a lot of confusion next season, though, like with the whole like pitch count and everything and the shifts.
Yeah, and there was actually, I think, a couple of rules that they didn't approve, and I guess we talk about that real quick to see what you guys think if it's something they should implement. But over the past few years, there's been a lot of talk about robot umpires, and I know that's very divisive because one, people like the human element of the umpire calling balls and strikes. But two, I think for pitchers, they would love to see consistency in terms of the strike zone. Because, as a Red Sox fan, I've heard stories about pitchers who keep notes with like certain umpires and what their strike zone is so they kind of know going into it. Whereas if you put robot umpires, you kind of know it's going to be by the letter of the law, width of the plate, up to the letters and at the waist for every batter. So since they didn't approve it for, I guess, you guys, would you like to see them implement robot umpires, or are you fine with the occasional missed ball and strike behind the plate? Start with Dylan.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm personally like a little bit indifferent about it. I mean, like if they implemented it, it'd be something I'd be like, ooh, that's a little weird, but like I'd be open to it. And if it's something that they didn't want, I'd be like, okay. I mean, I won't lie, I do like the human aspect of it. I mean, I feel like it gives the pitchers like something else that they have to scout for, like, ooh, who's gonna actually be calling the game today? I need to like figure out what does he call, what doesn't he call, what's his like strike zone and everything along those lines. I think it makes it tougher for a pitcher, and I feel like, I don't know, I think I would like a pitcher more who would put in that work and anything like that, like to like scout out even like who's calling the game. So I mean, I like the concept about that, but again, also I feel like the game should be like fair and even. Like we should have like an even universal strike zone, like to be fair for all pitchers and everything like that. But again, also at the same time, with that being said, all fields aren't the same size. Like people's home runs are going to be different than anybody else. So I mean, again, having different umpires like that and having different strike zones, I don't think is too crazy as well at the same time. So, I mean, I'm indifferent about it. It's something I'd be open to if they did do it. Like, I would really like hope they would do it right and make sure it would be right, because like, even then with robots, like even the slightest adjustment, like everyone's pitches just could be off and you wouldn't know. But so I think I'm open to it. I would just have to see it like done first and see how successful it can be, and then if it's done good, I think I'd be up for it.
Okay, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the MLB has been talking about that for years, but the AI umpire, how would that work? Like, would they just put like a robot like behind the catcher? Like, how would that work?
I guess it would be where I guess they set the parameters of the strike zone, and basically the pitches would be called out, I guess, on like the scoreboard, whether it's a ball or strike or some type of monitor system to let the pitcher know what the count is as well as the hitter. I think it's something like that. But
yeah, just like Dylan said, I mean, a lot of pitchers like like, take note of the umpire of that game. They say like, oh, they take a where they're from, their background, get to know them. Get to know the strike zone. I mean, I think that taking an umpire out, I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50, like because there'll be a lot of less fights, less brawls, because like, a lot of umpires are bad. So that would kind of like take away like some like the that would take away a lot of the GMs or general managers or coaches or skips, so I guess they call them the managers. There'll be less ejections because mainly the ejections come from the bad umping or bad calls. But yeah, I think I'm with Dylan. Like I'm 50-50. Like, hey, if it works out, it works out. If not, then they have to just go with the umps. But there are some bad calls. But I mean, like you said, there's always, with the robot, with the AI, there's some problems there too. But like if they get it all squared out and get it fixed up and down the road, I mean, I'm all for it. And if not, then we'll stick the old school umpires.
Okay. Yeah. And we've seen baseball tinkering with stuff, now the universal DH, both leagues.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, like Dylan said, because not every ballpark is cookie cutter, that's kind of a human element to each game. Because once again, Red Sox fan, you have Fenway Park with the Green Monster. You look at Yankee Stadium with the short porch in right. Plus, depending on where the stadium is, because of the weather, you could have like Colorado, where it's easier to hit a home run because you're so far above sea level, the ball travels better. Stadiums, the ball travels better in summer compared to fall. So baseball is like a game of variance, and I guess they're trying to peel back some of those, but in the end, there's still going to be different factors that factor into each game. So
yeah, like still sticking with the rules of baseball. Like, how do y'all feel about the like the MLB trying out the ghost runner? Like, do y'all think that like having a ghost runner are y'all still like all for like, okay, no ghost runner in old school, or like do y'all feel like I don't want to hear y'all's take on like the ghost runner? Like,
I mean, you want to go, Dylan, or?
I mean, I don't personally support it. I would rather just have someone run it. I mean, that's just what I'm used to. So I personally just like that. I mean, steal the base. Like, I'd rather someone like earn the stolen base, like earn the run plate, earn the run home, everything like that. Plus, it just feels so good. Like, even like as a walk-off member, like even if you're the one on base just walking home after someone hits like a nice walk-off run in there, just it's nice. I feel like taking that aspect out of the game is going to create like so many big, like you're going to lose out on so many big potential moments and just feelings that I just feel like I wouldn't change it.
I mean, I get it for the regular season because you don't want to sit there with like a 20-inning game that just means one win in the regular season. I mean, I'm glad it's not a thing in the postseason because I remember the like Red Sox Dodgers World Series was like game 3. It went like 17 innings, but because of the gravity of it being the World Series, like you sat there with every pitch, you're on the edge of your seat, thinking the game could end here.
Right.
It can kind of cheapen it a little bit with starting a guy at second because, I mean, if the home team blanks the road team at the top of the 10th inning or whatever, you're caught up in the bottom of the 10th, and all you have to do is get like a little bloop hit, and you win the game.
Right. It's kind of like the NFL with the whole overtime. I mean, I'm not sure if they changed it, but like I think if the team gets the ball in the first part of the overtime, they score, it's over, right? Or did they change it to where if they score,
I think they changed that, I believe.
Yeah, they changed it just for the playoffs. I'm pretty sure the rule is like in the playoffs, both teams get one possession, but in the regular season, it's still the same. If the first team that scores wins. Yeah, outside of field goal.
Right. Yeah, this thing with the NFL, like this with MLB, like I feel like with that goal, say the Yankees are playing the Tigers, right, and they had the second man on base for an overtime or extra innings. It's like if the Yankees get 2 men on base or get a 2-run homer, and the other team doesn't score, then it's over. You know what I'm saying? It's like I get the whole like speeding the game up because like if I'm a fan, like casual fan going there for like a season game, I mean I gotta get home. I got school in the morning. I Like I don't want to like have to sit down and wait for this game to end. But I get that aspect. But like y'all both said, like it's just like human aspect of seeing every pitch, every moment. You know what I'm saying? Having that one guy on base, you didn't earn that guy on second base. They put it on there automatically. So it's like I'm more for the old school too, like stolen bases or getting doubles and stuff. So
Would you feel better if the runner started on first instead of second?
that would be a lot intriguing. Yeah, that'd be a lot
Okay.
better. Yeah, because like
Yeah,
second
just
base,
thinking
like you can steal second base, like what I'm
Mhm.
saying, like, and you're already like what a few feet from home plate on third. So putting a play on first is that'd be pretty interesting.
Right, because I think at least at that point,
You can get a double
you're
play.
more
Right?
likely to see, right, the double play is now a factor. And for a runner on first, you're more likely to see in a late game situation a runner take that chance going to second.
Hmm.
Whereas you putting a guy on second, not a lot of guys look to steal third base because that's
Exactly.
a shorter throw for the catcher, so they don't want to risk it. So I mean, I haven't heard them even talk about that as maybe a adaptation to the Ghost Runner, but I kind of think more people would probably get behind it if you started them on first base as opposed to second.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I guess if guys don't have anything else with baseball, we could kind of move to NBA. So over the week, the NBA released their salary cap numbers for next season, and I think it's over projection by like 1 million, but it's going to go up another 10 million. So after those couple of years in the bubble and all that, where the salary cap kind of stayed the same, NBA is back to business as usual. I mean, not a lot to talk about there. I mainly want to talk about the off season for the NBA is basically over at this point. Most of the moves have been made. There's a couple of rumors and all that can still happen, but looking at the offseason so far, what do you think has been the best move so far? And maybe that move that has you intrigued kind of to see how it fits, but you may not be the biggest fan of it. I guess I'll start with Jordan on this one.
So the question is like, what moves have I seen that are good?
Yeah, like, so which offseason move do you think was the best so far? And then which offseason move has you scratching your head a little bit?
I mean, I'm still confused as why like KD put the whole NBA on his upside down and now he's back in Brooklyn. But that's pretty like because we all thought he was going either to Phoenix or Miami. But the trade that I like, or like the most intriguing thing team that I've seen was Don going to the Cavaliers. Like he's going to play with Darius Garland and Mobley. So that's gonna be and Jared Allen. That's gonna be a good team. Now another Knicks kind of fumbled the ball with them getting him, but I don't think he was going there in the first place. But I like that move to Cleveland. Like gives them that another point guard that can dunk the ball, shoot it. So yeah, that's the move I like.
Well, okay, so now with Mitchell in Cleveland, do you think, Jordan, since this was your favorite move, do you think Cleveland is now a top 4 team in the East? Do you think they're a legit threat to win the East next season with Donovan Mitchell now?
I mean, they're definitely like they're up in conversation. I would say like top 5. I'll say top 5, maybe like missing the 5, maybe at the 6, top 6. Because you still got the Miami Heat, you still got the Celtics, still got Philly there with Joel Embiid still there. But yeah, it gives them a spark, definitely. I see them, obviously chemistry because they haven't played together yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like they can be like they're young, they're talented. I believe they still got Love too on the bench, come off the bench. So, I mean, I feel like they can make some moves in the East, man, for sure.
Okay, so you have them like at least within the top 6,
exactly top 10
out
top,
of the play-in tournament.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Okay.
for sure.
All right, Dylan. Oh, so what do you have?
I think my most like a move I really like the most. I think I'm a Hawks fan, so seeing DeJounte Murray go there was something I was very excited about. obviously coming off his first All-Star year, very, very impressive. He's going to be looked at to be that other guy next to Trae Young, someone who's going to bring more of that defensive presence, something that Trae Young does lack. I feel like it's going to be an interesting fit. It's also like one of those things that I'm going to be interested in how it worked because both of these guys are lead ball handlers. But I feel like we seeing the motion of Trae Young being more off ball is something that's like very intriguing and something that could be like very helpful at the same time, especially for this offense. There was rumblings that they were going to trade John Collins or Clint Capella and different things like that. I don't hear anything like that anymore. I haven't for a while, so it seems like this is the team that they want. I imagine they'll probably roll out a lineup of Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, Collins, Capella will probably be what they roll with, which honestly, I feel like that would be a good team really to run with. A move I'm intrigued by is the Knicks getting Jalen Brunson. I mean, obviously that's going to kind of be an intriguing move. He had I would say a fairly like good career with Dallas. So, but seeing the Knicks not make any other moves past really Jalen Brunson is like really like where I'm a little shaky on it. Like, of course, they were in the conversation to get Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, that trade didn't happen. I imagine they might be setting themselves up for a later offseason run or different things like that, saving their picks and different things. But man, they're going to have Jalen Brunson on a fairly big contract. And honestly, in a season where I don't think they're going to be able to compete, in a season where I think they know they're not going to be able to compete. So it's going to be like a little bit interesting because you're going to have him on what? Is it a 4-year contract? I think it's 4 years, 120.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So you're going to have him on a 4-year contract for $120 million. I know they just extended RJ Barrett, but you still need progression out of him. So now you pretty much have a 4-year countdown with this contract to try to make something work if you think Jalen Brunson is that guy. But if he turns out not to be that guy, the Knicks are kind of going to be in the same spot they have been in like a purgatory state. So that's probably one of my most interesting moves. Other little moves that I like Jeremy Grant going to the Trailblazers. I feel like that's just a good addition. I feel like the Trailblazers could be a team that definitely sneaks in and like becomes one of those West contender spots. I imagine we think the Jazz are going to be one of the teams that drop out from last year. So, I mean, I think the Trailblazers could be a team that do that. I like Christian Wood going to the Mavericks. I feel like that's going to definitely do a lot more for him. Other moves I'm still waiting on the lookout for is like if anything happens to Westbrook, not sure who'll get traded or anything yet. And then what are the Jazz going to do with the rest of their remaining pieces? What are they going to do with Jordan Clarkson, Bogdanovich, Beasley? Where are they going to go? Conley? What's going to happen with all of them? Because I mean, of course, the rumors are they might be going to the Lakers, different things like that. But when they all go and they're all spread out, I imagine the Lakers probably isn't the final destination spot for all of them or even half of them. So that's going to shake up the league a little bit more. More teams might get a little bit better and different things like that, maybe before the season starts or a little bit during the season. So we still got some interesting stuff left, but I feel like it's going to be like a good season this year. I feel like it's going to get like even more competitive than what we've had recently.
All right. And then, so I am a Celtics fan, but I mean, I was born and raised there, but I do live in Atlanta now, so I pay attention to the Hawks as well. So are you optimistic in seeing Trae Young off the ball, or would you put Murray off the ball and keep Trae as the lead guard?
Personally, if I had a personal preference, I mean, we've had Trae being the main guard in our system for a couple of years now. So, I mean, I feel like he's more comfortable in that role. But with that being said, I feel like one problem that we have with Trae Young is definitely like teams know how to shut him down. Like when it comes down to like that playoff time, like the Hawks like shut down offensively. We see these teams go up against them and just like break them really. And we saw it in this year's playoffs for sure. Obviously they came in as a team that made it through in the play-in tournament, but like, it was a tough series for him against the Heat, and I think that shows. And I feel like getting Trae Young to be more of a different offensive threat, being more off the ball, like getting him open in space, letting him move around and finding those shots rather than him just creating them himself and just calling it good. I feel like that's going to be good, but I also feel like it's going to increase him just so much more as a playmaker because if you have him move around, people are going to have to cover him, and I feel like it creates more opportunities to find for him to find open space for other players or even himself. So I feel like it's good. I'm open to him being more off the ball. Like I feel like we can create a system where both guards can be happy. I mean, like I imagine the main reason we got him was to help out with the defense, but also help Trae Young get that role. So I think I'm optimistic about him being off the ball. I think it'll be very helpful for us.
Real quick, Jordan, is your TV on or something?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I think it's coming.
I can hear it. Is it better now?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me see. All right, yeah, because I think I'm intrigued to see because we know what Trae Young is a lead guard. We know what he can do offensively. Of course, his struggles defensively are highlighted because he's not the best defender, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they try to hide him defensively now if they're because Murray is a better defender, so you would like to see Murray on the other team's point guard. So who do you put Young on? And
Exactly.
would teams just use that guy as their primary option to continue to attack Young that way?
I think one good thing about getting Murray, he's like 6'5", so I imagine he'll be like the guy on a lot of like he'll be just basically on whatever team's main guard there is, I imagine.
Right,
Like
yeah.
I imagine if they're going up against a Kyrie Irving, they're probably going to put DeJounte Murray on him and have Trae Young just float off, maybe switch and different things like that. But like I imagine if they're going up against someone like a Reggie Jackson, I imagine like DeJounte Murray's probably going to go up against like Paul George or something along those lines. So I
Right,
think it's
yeah.
just going to be like whoever is going to be that main ball handler. Like if it's someone like they need to worry about being able to like just create space and someone that's going to be able to attack Trae Young, because I imagine a lot of people are going to change their offensive game plan to attack Trae Young when they play the Hawks now, especially when they're going to have like DeJounte Murray probably locking up their lead guard. So it's going to be like find switches to attack Trae Young. So I feel like his defense is going to be tested this year. I feel like a lot of people are going to try to attack him and try to take their scoring that way. So it's going to be interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess for me, the move that definitely makes me scratch my head was, I guess you could say the KD situation. I was prepared for him to leave, and I was completely with Brooklyn if they wanted to move on from Kyrie and KD because of all the background stuff that comes with both of them. I am definitely interested to see what Brooklyn looks like this season because not only are those two coming back, at some point we're going to see Ben Simmons on the court. I mean, Ben Simmons, I guess you kind of know what he is already. I'm not the biggest Ben Simmons fan because for laundry list of reasons, but if Ben Simmons is right mentally, physically, all that, Brooklyn, you'd have to put Brooklyn up there in terms of East contenders. I mean, I wouldn't pick them to win the East either way, but what he brings to that team, I mean, he's a defender, number one, so he helps with Kyrie, who's a defender, I guess, when he wants to try at least. But so that's the one that made me scratch my head the most. I mean, there's a lot of head scratching stuff, but the one I liked the best was, I like my Celtics getting Brogdon because the finals matchup, I mean, one of the biggest issues the Celtics had against Golden State was, when Steph Curry goes on his runs and momentum switches to Golden State, Boston at times had their issues where, Tatum and Brown maybe would try to do a little too much and they'd get themselves in trouble. So now if you're bringing in Brogdon, because I'm assuming Brogdon's going to be in those games late, he's a well-known ball handler. He's careful with the ball. And that frees up Tatum and Brown to, work off the ball, find their spots, and score, in the places they want to. Because we know Brogdon isn't ball dominant to the point where, he needs it all the time in order to score and be effective. And with him and Smart out there, that creates a tough backcourt for opposing teams. And those are two guys who can move the ball. Now, Brogdon is probably a better passer than Smart, but I think Smart is a little underrated in terms of his playmaking skills, as we saw last season. So I think that's the best move for me. But I think before we move on, so the moves that Utah made, we saw them move Gobert first, then Mitchell. And I got to be honest, I thought they were going to move one and keep the other, even though it'd probably be a tough sell for the whoever stayed there to be happy. And I know a lot of people killed Danny Ainge for, trading Donovan Mitchell more than Gobert. I think people were kind of done with Gobert. But do you see, I guess, the benefit in what Danny Ainge is doing? And were you surprised that he moved on from both of those guys? Do you think the two of them together eventually could have won a title in Utah?
To be
Yeah, we can go ahead. You can go ahead and do it.
to be honest, no. Like, if I had to be completely honest, I didn't have any sort of like thought like that combo would have been able to win a title together. I think after the whole COVID situation that you had with Rudy Gobert, I feel like any sort of hope after that point was done. Because, I mean, from then on, you heard from issues between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, then it was squashed, but then you also hear that Donovan Mitchell was still upset. I feel like it was just a matter of time. I mean, I felt like fairly confident like Gobert was going to be moved. It was just a matter of when. And then I felt like if Gobert was moved, like it was just a matter of when Donovan Mitchell. I feel like maybe if they could have got something a little bit better, or if they could have found a better package to maybe bring in someone like a lesser star and then like just picks, they might have kept Donovan Mitchell around. But at the same time, it's just like, why try to make it work with this one star when we already have, when we could just rebuild, blow it all up, save money, get ourselves like in a position to where like we have all these stars and maybe we can all these young talent, and then maybe we get a star to like put in the centerfold of it to help build and different things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's always tough to like grade how like trades work, especially when it's a bunch of draft picks, because it's like you won't know. It's like that 2029 draft pick, like we won't know till then, and then he still has years to progress. He still has a whole career until we find out how good he actually is. So it's like, it's hard. It's when I always see trades like that go down for stars, like I'm someone that's like, I personally would be willing to trade like a bunch of picks away to get a star, because like those players are good now. Like, man, it's tough for me to be like, oh, it's fine, we'll just wait 6 years from now, we'll see how that pick does. Like,
Right.
As a sports fan, I want to see results. I want to see my good team do good now. So, yeah, I mean, Jazz fans are probably going to have to wait for a while to like have good basketball again. Like, they're been in a stretch where they've been a pretty dominant team. Like, of course, no finals or anything like that, or even conference finals that I can think of. But like,
Yeah, I don't think so.
yeah, I feel like they had good times with Donovan Mitchell. Of course, like it would have been better to like him win a ring or anything there, but yeah, I didn't think it would work, and we'll see how the draft picks go. Like, I mean, they got a haul for it, so that's good. Like, I'd rather, if you get rid of your star, at least get a bunch of picks for it. Like,
Right.
make sure you have more opportunities to find a great player. So I'm fine with that. But like personally, man, it's hard. It's hard letting the stars walk, especially like when I want to be competitive.
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Kyle said before this topic, that I was shocked that they're either gonna keep one and then trade the other, but that just proves that Utah is, like Dylan said, they're like cleaning house, starting from scratch. And maybe since the league is evolving, and with Curry, with the whole 3-ball and everything, maybe like in the way the game's played today, maybe that's a good option for them to rebuild, and maybe later on, maybe in the free agency or trade deadline, get somebody that can like a second tier star to pair with. I mean, I don't know who their point guard is now. Is it Conley there still?
Yeah, and it's kind of surprising that
Like, who is like
Conley hasn't been moved yet, since
I don't
they're
know.
kind of tearing it down.
Yeah,
Right,
I would
I don't know
imagine
who
he would
the
have been
center
bought
is.
out.
Yeah,
Right. And Rudy Gobert. I was surprised he got shipped, because like he was like, one, he won DPOY, the Defensive Player of the Year.
Mhm.
But I mean, where did he get traded to? The
Minnesota, which
Minnesota, which is
I guess is a question there of seeing
yeah,
Gobert and
in Carl
Karl Anthony
Towns.
Towns on the court at the same time, because I think Karl Anthony Towns can kind of get himself in trouble when he lives on the perimeter
Right,
because
right,
he is such a good 3-point shooter for a big man.
right.
A lot of times he falls in love and kind of hangs around out there.
Because
But if you're gonna
Quebec,
have, yeah, if you're
right.
gonna have him and Gobert on the court now,
Gobert can't shoot anything.
right? So
Maybe short mid range shots, but that's it. Like maybe
right,
like
so
2 feet shots from the rim. Like
yeah, and at
uh,
that point, Towns has to stay on the perimeter.
exactly.
So
Yeah. So I mean, like this is the league, it's the business at the end
right,
of the day. So I mean, would you rather have one player be happy of being shipped off and have the other person kind of like disappointed? I mean, for them staying there, and then that might cause problems in the locker room if that player doesn't
mhm.
want to be there. So maybe it was the right thing for them to blow it up. But Utah was kind of like, well, before John Morant got there to Memphis, Utah, they're kind of like the small market teams. You know what I'm saying? Not many. Like it's not like LA or like Philadelphia. But now, I mean, Donovan Mitchell made and Gobert, they made Utah kind of like known. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like how John Morant made the Grizzlies relevant. So now they lost both pieces. So now they're kind of like back to that tier of like kind of being that low market kind of team. Because I don't know anybody on that. Conley, Bogdanovich is still there. I think.
Yeah.
I know their center Azubuike. He's from Kansas. He might be a center. I don't know. But maybe it was a good thing for them to blow it up.
Well, I mean, once again, Celtics. I saw what Danny Ainge did there, where he kind of wrote it out with the big three that they had: Pierce, Garnett, Allen, up until the point where he realized that they were, at least to him, they were a little bit older. He wasn't sure if they'd make it back there, and then he moved them all. So Ainge has a history of doing this. Now, of course, he's going to put a lot of priority on those draft picks. And he's got the hit on most of them to make Jazz fans forget about the Mitchell trade and the Gobert trade. And then for the fans, I mean, that's the tough part of running a sports organization where fans want to see results now.
Yeah.
They don't want to wait 4 or 5 years down the line. At least not every city likes to do that. I mean, Oklahoma City's been rebuilding for a while, and I mean, they seem to draw pretty well down there because kind of a college atmosphere. So they're a little bit different than Boston and New York, where, I mean, look at the Knicks. Every offseason, they set their sights on the biggest free agent. And then when they don't get them, the fans want to like riot. And that's because big city and with the Knicks history, they're expecting to see a winner year in and year out. I mean, it's a tough line to kind of straddle when you're team president or whatever. Do you think about the future and take the risk at the now? I guess with Utah, if you keep Mitchell, can you convince him to be happy rebuilding, or do you just move on from him?
Yeah,
So
that's a question. Like, I mean, imagine if KD and Kyrie left. I mean, they're basically would be on a rebuild path too if they
yeah,
lost their players. Because like obviously, like I said in my own show that I said on one episode that hey, maybe Nets were the better option right now because like it's like buying a house. Like the market's not right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and most of these teams that are in a rebuild stance right now. They don't want to give up like a Zion Williamson because that's their cornerstone for their team. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And like, why? If you were just like you said, it's a fine line when you're like a GM or like an owner because like you know what I'm saying like why would would I give up a Tatum for a Durant? Why would I do that when I have rebuilt something here? You know what I'm saying? So, but like most teams didn't have the cap space too to sign Durant and like,
Yeah.
but that'd be interesting to see like if they would have left the Nets, how would they have I mean, I think they signed Reese O'Neal from the Utah.
Mhm.
But other than that, they wouldn't have any pieces. So, but thank God, I mean, KD kind of saved them from a rebuild. But like you said, like being that in that role is hard because like giving up these players, these picks for one player, which
Mhm.
could possibly be a win now mode. But yeah, it's a fine line you work as a manager, as a GM. So that's a good point you brought up.
I mean, for me with KD, I never bought into the KD to the Celtics rumor, and there's like a couple of reasons why.
Mhm.
You know, right after the season, Brad Stevens, who's their team president, he made it a point to talk about depth and making sure the Celtics' depth was better this upcoming season. So I couldn't see him turning around and trading Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, um, picks, and I guess another player, Derek White or something, to get Durant. I mean, yeah, I know it's Durant, but Durant's what, 30? Is he like 35 now or 34? So you're going to mortgage a team that was 2 games away from winning the title for Durant, and you don't even know Durant's headspace. By the trade deadline, he may want to move on from your team. So that put Brooklyn in a tough spot if they're going to really try to market him to try to get a deal. What team's going to risk that? You know, him going to a new city and being happy enough to stay there. That 4 years left on his deal, where he's shown, you know, he was with Golden State, looked like a perfect situation for him. He wasn't that happy there at the end. He's in Brooklyn. Brooklyn does everything, bringing in his buddy Kyrie and then his other buddy James Harden. But then that didn't seem to work. Then they bring in Ben Simmons. Then he's really not happy because the way that they're supposedly treating Kyrie, who's another guy you can't really put too much trust in because you don't know where his headspace is at. So I think all this means is that the NBA next season is going to be wildly crazy for at least a few teams. You know, some of the good teams at the top kind of solidified themselves at the top, but looking in the East and the West from like 5 through 12, I mean, any number of things could happen there. So I guess now we can go on to the NFL. I mean, that's the reason why, you know, we were here in the first place.
Do you want to get to the UFC real fast and then end off on the NFL, or do you want to do the NFL last? Well, UFC last, my bad.
We could actually, yeah, we could go ahead and do the UFC real quick.
All right.
Yeah, you guys go ahead and.
Yeah, I figured that was something to talk about because that was
Okay.
Well, I didn't see the card, but the whole storyline.
So basically, if you guys haven't heard, the UFC 279 happened Saturday. The main event was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. Chimaev ended up missing weight by 7.5 pounds. So basically, that whole weigh-in day, they had to scramble and change the card. Diaz was like, I'm not going to fight him if he's going to be missing weight by that much. They ended up switching the card around to have Nate Diaz fight Tony Ferguson. That was going to be the main event. Then Khamzat Chimaev ended up facing Kevin Holland. Ling Zhiliang ended up facing Daniel Rodriguez. And then Johnny Walker beat Ion Cutelaba, which was also a main point that happened. But basically, it was a whole switch up. It was surprising. Like at some one point, like there was like talks like the card wasn't even going to happen. But basically, how the event went, Nate Diaz beat Tony Ferguson by sub, and I believe it was the third round. I got to check again, but it was believed the third or fourth round. It was a good fight. Tony Ferguson really attacked Nate Diaz's legs, which was one of his biggest weaknesses. Basically, Diaz just punching him out until he got tired. Tony Ferguson shot when he was exhausted, and that just ended up in him being choked out. I'm pretty sure I heard things that he tapped out at like 209, which is funny because that's like Nate Diaz's like area code and things like that. Like that's a big mantra of his. So I feel like that's hilarious. He ended up saying in his post-fight press conference that like he wanted to go out and do other things. He wanted to try other sports. Hinted at boxing pretty much. That's like the rumblings are he's going to box Jake Paul at some point. Probably after his Anderson Silva fight, which is interesting. But he ended up saying at the end that like he was interested and he wanted to come back to the UFC and fight for a championship, which was surprising to everybody. Will he come back? That's who knows. I mean, I imagine if he wants to come back, the UFC will always have an open spot for him. So that's nice. It was a good fight overall. Khamzat Chimaev ran over Kevin Holland. Like, this is a crazy event for him. Like, I feel like he just like shot himself in the foot like multiple times and then just kept doing it. I feel like this was like, it was a crazy event. He ended up being like one of the most hyped and like cheered for prospects to being like booed like a lot. Like the Las
Right.
Vegas crowd did not like him. Like he went from being like one of like the biggest, like, I wouldn't say baby faces because like he's always been a crazy guy. But with that being said, like he went from being like one of the most liked fighters to being like the biggest heel in the company. When he missed weight, he was flipping off everybody, different things like that. He got the press conference canceled. He actually kicked Kevin Holland in the chest. They were fighting backstage. Nate Diaz showed up, threw bottles. It was kind of sad. The way they made it sound was like a big drawn out thing, but it was just kind of weird. They were all just yelling and screaming at each other. When I say he like just steamrolled him, he steamrolled him. Basically, started the match. Kevin Holland went up for a glove touch. Khamzat shot, took him down, and it was just basically scrambling until he could end up getting the sub. I believe it was a Darce choke. Not sure the time, but I believe it was around 2 minutes. So in the first round, there's been talks. Khamzat's coach said pretty much 185 is probably where they're going to go. So it looks like they might move up a weight class and fight at middleweight.
Okay.
Dana White even said that was a good idea. So I feel like it's a little bittersweet because especially he got ranked third in the welterweight division. Like if Kamaru versus Leon 3 wasn't happening, he would have a title shot. But since now, like it's hard to give a dude a title shot when he can't make weight and then didn't care about making the weight. They said it was a medical condition. His coach also said like he was like cramping, he was puking, and basically the doctors told him to stop. Dana White even agreed with that. So he's made the weight before, but he's also missed the weight before. So I'm just a little indifferent about it. I think a move to 185 is fine if he's having those health problems. Making that weight, that's fine. One of the saddest results of the night was Li Jingliang lost to Daniel Rodriguez. During this whole process, Daniel Rodriguez was supposed to fight Kevin Holland at a 180 catch bout, and Li Jingliang was supposed to fight Ferguson at 170. So Li Jingliang lost his co-main event spot, and then he also had to fight a dude 10 pounds heavier than him, and then lost a fight that honestly he won on the card. So the judges kind of screwed him over. Which was a little upsetting. It was a little upsetting for him. He also like was very like vocal about him learning English, and he bought a suit for the press conference, and all the stuff got canceled, and then he gets screwed over on the card. So it was pretty upsetting. And then Johnny Walker just had a first round sub against Ion Cutelaba. Walker has been kind of on a downward streak lately of just bad knockout finishes. He got knocked out by Thiago Santos pretty well, and then his Jamal Hill one was bad. So he got back into a win column. Didn't really see much about like anything that you had to worry about him. Like the main concerns was his chin. He didn't really get his chin tested. So it's just a win. I imagine he'll probably fight another up and coming like gatekeeping type. He'll be like a gatekeeper, I imagine, for the light heavyweight division. He might get to fight a little bit of better contenders, but like I don't know. It's kind of a weird area there. The Contender Series is on right now, so if any of you guys are interested in like checking out up and coming fighters, like anybody watching, the Dana White's Contender Series is on now on ESPN. So if that's something you guys are interested in, definitely go check that out. I know I'm going to watch it when I get off work. And then this week's main event is it's going to be a fight night. Basically, it's going to be Corey Sandhagen versus Song Yudong. Basically, this is going to kind of be a main event and like kind of like a Grand Prix, if you want to call it, in that bantamweight division. You have a lot of different matchups coming up. I mean, you had Jose Aldo versus Merab Dvalishvili, which was 3 versus 6. You're going to have Sean O'Malley face Piotr Yan, which is going to be a great matchup. You're going to have this one, and then you're going to have the belt being fought the same day in Abu Dhabi. The same day O'Malley and Yan are going to fight. So this is going to kind of be a big matchup in the whole layout of the bantamweight division. So I definitely would keep an eye and look out for that if you guys are interested. And yeah, I mean, we won't get any big pay-per-view cards until I believe it's 280. So that's going to be the Abu Dhabi event, I'm pretty sure. So that's going to be that big main event in Abu Dhabi where you have Charles Oliveira face Islam Makhachev, which is a loaded card. Like, if I recommend getting any pay-per-view or watching any pay-per-view, I'd recommend watching that one. It's loaded from top to bottom. Like, even in like the prelims and stuff like that, like the people in Abu Dhabi pay a lot to get like nice UFC cards there, and that's what they did. So it's going to kind of be a little bit slow, at least on the UFC end for a little bit, because they built up such a big card for that pay-per-view. I feel like October is going to kind of be a little till we close out the month, but then it's going to start picking up again when you get to the good pay-per-views. So it was a good event this weekend. It was very bittersweet, kind of crazy. Oh, I literally like woke up and it was like Hamzat missed weight. They're going to change the whole card, and I'm like, what happened?
Right.
And then it ended up being a card people, I think, were happy with and agreed with. So I think it all worked out in the end. Like, it ended up being an event that was like, could have just gone terribly bad. And then it ended up being like something I think people did end up enjoying.
Yeah, just like what Dylan said, like, but the crazy thing was that like when I woke up and saw the news about like there was like the whole backstage, I was confused. I look at some tape, and like apparently it was just like just some words exchanged, whatever, and he was I think Holland was talking crap like, yo, like, why are you in my space, da, 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 da. And then but Holland and Chimaev, they weren't supposed to fight anyway. Like it was supposed to be between Nate. I thought Nate was involved with the whole thing. Nate wasn't really involved.
Yeah, he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't come in towards the end. He came into the end, and like I guess one of the dudes who broke up Chimaev and Holland was like someone who worked very closely with like Nate Diaz, and I don't remember the dude's name, but like he was someone that worked very closely with Nate Diaz and someone that Nate Diaz knew. And then he saw him standing with Chimaev, which kind of like set him a little, like ticked him off a little bit. It was someone that worked with the UFC, and then like I feel like I heard that's what kind of led to him like talking more crap and like throwing stuff, was like seeing that dude kind of there.
Yeah, and like the way that I don't think Chimaev even wanted to fight Nate, because the way that he just missed weight by like you said, 7 pounds, like he didn't want to.
Yeah,
like,
there was like
usually if a fighter wants to fight, he maybe lose weight, cuts weight by like maybe like a pound or two, but not 7 pounds. Like that's just crazy. So
yeah, there was
and the fact
like,
that he walked off the steps, like was laughing and smirking, like he like wants that fight. But Dana White, he did what's best. He made a, like Dylan said, to end out his take. Like the fans wanted it. Wanted this new card, more enticing card. Like you said, Chimaev defeated Holland mad quick. Nate Diaz, and the thing, he won on his contract fight, so like he's gonna get that money. He said he was gonna like not retire, but like kind of take a break from the UFC. And then come back, and Conor was like, "Oh, we do another fight." So maybe that would be UFC 281, 282, maybe. But like what a crazy turn of events, like that UFC presser, and like you said, that Abu Dhabi 2A it's gonna be something else. That was again that they had the COVID fights, right? Like the Masvidal fight was there, right?
Yeah, well, I know during COVID they went there a lot.
Or they have Fight Island, right?
They had Fight Island. They went to, I'm pretty sure they went to Abu Dhabi at least once or twice during there, because like they could get like, basically it's kind of like a private event. Like Abu Dhabi people pay for those. Basically, you go to their stadiums and stuff like that. They pay good money for those cards. So I'm pretty sure there was some there, and then they had Fight Island.
I'm trying to figure out who fought into Abu Dhabi, like one of the big cards. I think didn't Conor.
I know. Yeah,
Masvidal
I'm pretty sure Israel Adesanya and Costa fought at Fight Island at 2. There was some events that went there. If anything, it might have been. Oh, I don't know. I don't know, because I know Masvidal fought Till in the UK. I don't think he fought Ben Askren at Fight Island.
No,
it could have been. Who knows? Could have been one of his opponents on his rise up.
But yeah, I mean, just the way that things turned out, it turned out to be for the better. Like better cards, better fights, all around. And yeah, I mean, Chimaev, like you can say, he did not want that fight, so he didn't really care. And I heard that he has to gain the trust back from the UFC, because it's like they built up all this hype for this Nate Diaz and Chimaev fight. Come to find out, press conference doesn't happen.
loses weight. So he has to get some trust back with Dana White and the UFC with that, and gain some of the fans back that support him because like
Oh well, regardless, he lost the event millions. Like even
sure.
if like even if like the event got like changed up and like it was a card that ended up being more like I would say like fan friendly, more of what the fans wanted, he still ended up losing the company like millions of dollars. And the lack of how much he just did not care was like it was like personally like a little bit alarming. Like I was like, man, like how are you gonna make this guy like one of your faces of the company when like he just shows up the day he misses weight, 7.5 pounds heavy, flips off the camera, pretty much tells him F you, and then like even when they keep asking him about it, and then he's just like, I don't care, like I'll fight anybody. So I mean, like I guess that kind of builds into his demeanor of like him just being like this monster, which is fine, but at the same time, like the UFC has to be like a little bit like, oof, like wow, I did not expect like this is what we were gonna have to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, because there's enough moving pieces putting together a card where now you're gonna try to book somebody who you can't really fully trust. So that's gonna be a whole thing. But for me, I think when it comes to like UFC or boxing, or I mean, even like as a kid when I watched wrestling or whatever, having like that backstage stuff does, bring more eyeballs to it because like all of us, when we saw about the card possibly being canceled and then changed and all that kind of stuff, you just have to know what's going on. So everybody's now looking into it. So, hopefully, homeboy, figures out what weight class he wants to be in and can
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna fight a one weight and be 8 pounds over, and then I heard the story where he was like trying to cut it so fast.
Right.
Nobody can handle that. Nobody's body can go through a significant drop in weight like that quick. So I don't know what he thought was going to happen, in trying to do that.
It kind of reminded me of like the backstage. It kind of reminded me of like the Conor McGregor, even though it was more severity and more like
like nobody threw a dolly. Nobody threw a dolly.
No, it wasn't that bad. Oh, I thought well, like Dylan said, I think the media portrayed it to be like as bad as it was.
Yeah, because they did like they came out and they were like Hamzat like kicked him in the chest and like bottles and stuff was being thrown, and I was like, oh, that's pretty serious. And like when they showed the little backstage scrum, like Kevin Holland walked up to him and like they were just talking crap, and like Hamzat like kicked and like it might have like hit him a little bit, but not even much. And then it was like you just see Diaz from afar like just throw a bottle like he
but like when it comes to like WWE and like UFC, like that WWE stuff is like kind of fake, but like UFC it's real. Like when it's backstage, it's real, brawl, real. Like we all saw the Conor McGregor and the Khabib, like that was personal. Like you know what I'm saying? Like but like you said, it brings more eyes to the fight, to the attention. But that's kind of like what I thought about like the Conor McGregor Khabib, even though things weren't thrown like a trot or like a rail or whatever, like and nobody was hurt like that. But I don't know. I think Chimaev has to pay a fine or something like that for screwing everyone.
No, nothing. I'm pretty like the crazy thing about this. So when fighters miss weight, they usually get their fight purse like percentage of it usually goes to the other fighter. But in this case, they changed Hamzat's fight to a fight that was at a catch weight of 180. So he gets no suspension. He doesn't lose any of his fight purse, anything like that. Like, just fine. Like, yeah. If they kept the bout at what it was and Diaz accepted it, like, I'm pretty sure like he would have been like 60 or 70% of his fight purse would have went to Diaz. But like, since they changed the fight and it was a catch weight bout, like,
he didn't lose anything. Yeah,
that makes sense, I guess. Because technically he's still fighting on the card, just a different match than was originally scheduled. So, it's different if like you have a fighter on the card and then the night before they get like arrested or something. Then there's going to be some type of
like definitely in Hamzat and definitely Kevin Holland's case. He was supposed to fight Daniel Rodriguez, who is a striker, and like Hamzat's a striker in itself, but also he's like a 6-time gold medalist Swedish wrestler. So like. He went up like being prepared to fight someone who's going to strike with him amid like the whole match. And then it was like, nah, you got to face this wrestler now. And then he got wrestled to death. So, it
definitely makes it tough on the, I guess, alternative fighter where, like you said, they spend weeks, months planning on one guy to switch it up last minute. Yeah, that is tough.
That's kind of what
like
like
to see that.
that's kind of like what Masvidal did. Like I think when I think it was the it might have been Abu Dhabi or like Fight Island. I think he had to accept the fight like a couple. He didn't even go to camp. He had to like cut weight.
Yeah, it was that was the Kamaru fight. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he fought Kamaru on. Yeah, basically.
It was like a
that's
short
just
day's
title
notice.
shot, though. It was a title shot though.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I'm excited to see like UFC for future cards. I know we got Stipe heavyweight, got John Jones possibly coming back to fight. Because what's the champ?
Francis Ngannou. Yeah, he's not
Ngannou,
fighting until next year.
Yeah, he's hurt.
He said something like well, I guess his knee surgery's fine, but he said something like he's like 300 pounds now, so like he's gonna have to like lose some weight. Yeah, there's been talks about them doing an Africa card, so I mean, I feel like the UFC would be like wanting to wait and maybe put like John Jones and Ngannou, because like there's been rumblings about them doing Stipe, but there's also just been like rumblings that like if they can and it's possible to wait for Ngannou, that's just what they're gonna do. Like they don't mind matching up Jones and Ngannou right away, which I feel like is fair. They need to do something soon because the heavyweight division is going to kind of be at a point where it's going to be on lull. I mean, like you have Tom Aspinall who's out, you have Cyril Gane who just beat Tai Tuivasa, who's one of their top ranked contenders. You have Curtis Blades, and then you have like Stipe. So like you still have like a small range of fighters that haven't fought each other yet, and then it's going to just get to a point where you're going to have them fight each other.
Yeah, Derek Lewis, yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, he's on a little bit of a skid. He's gotten. I won't lie that Sergey Pavlovich fight was pretty. It was an early stoppage, but Lewis has kind of been on a skid a little bit. I'm pretty sure he's like 11th, 12th ranked now. So
right, yeah.
Well, Dylan, I know you said you had to leave early. You good?
Yeah. I'm gonna like let's go over NFL real fast. I'll do a quick recap of like my picks and stuff for the week, and then I gotta get out of here.
Okay, that's cool. And then Jordan and I, we can keep going for a little.
Yeah.
So NFL. So I guess we'll start with you, Dylan, since you're short on time. So
yeah,
what were your picks from last week, and then we'll talk about that.
So we only had 2 sets of picks last week. We had our locks of the week, and then we had our upset. Of course, we'll do a different set. My lock of the week was the Ravens at the Jets. The Ravens ended up winning 24-9, I believe was the final score. I mean, it was about everything I said. Lamar started off slow, which was about something I probably would have – I didn't predict it, but it was something I could have guessed. I imagined the offense was going to start a little slow and different things like that. They don't have their running backs or whatever, like their normal set in. He looked good. I mean, he looked good. He passed well. He had like that nice bomb to Devin Duvernay. Yeah, I think the Ravens look good. They have a tough matchup against, I believe they face the Dolphins, which I think that'll be a very interesting matchup this week. I feel like the Dolphins kind of shocked me a little bit more than I expected. They looked really good. And then my upset of the week, I had the Broncos and the Seahawks. I had the Seahawks winning that game. It is exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be a nasty game. I thought like we were going to go in there. It was going to be a small scoring game. We were going to win by a field goal or whatever. I don't agree with Nathaniel Hackett's end game moment. I read a stat today that was like nobody is like since in 2002 since Lumen Field is open, nobody has kicked a field goal even at 57 yards in there. So kicking a 64-yarder was a little crazy.
It was an interesting decision, and even the way Wilson and that offense was kind of operating on that final drive, it was basically to set up a field goal, because even I think it was that third down play, instead of trying to get the first down, he dumped it underneath, and then they kind of stood around, let the clock run. And I mean, that's tough for any kicker in that situation. And there was 65 yards or 64 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not easy, because we saw Falcons game, it came down to like a 63-yarder, and that one got blocked because from that distance, usually you have to kick it on a low trajectory just to get it there. I mean, McManus had the leg for it, but just, I guess, pulled it a little bit too much. All right, so you went 2-0 on your picks. I mean, yeah. Jordan, I know you had the Ravens Jets as your lock as well.
Yeah. Actually, I was at the Jets game. It was pretty cool experience. My first NFL game. Pretty cool. But yeah, like, I knew they were gonna win. It's the Jets. I I mean, like we kind of did start off kind of like like the run game didn't start off good. Lamar kind of forced some passes, but I feel like in the second half, they kind of like put pressure on Joe Flacco through that pick to Marcus Williams. Lamar had a couple some good passes, but I noticed that he wasn't really running the ball like people would say he would. Like he threw the ball and he stayed in the pocket. I was telling my friend, yo, why is Lamar scrambling? There's so many open pockets for him to run. Why? And he got thicker too. Like you can tell, like in the arms, like you can tell he was in the gym and working on his arm for the stronger arm. But yeah, like I mean that's my lot. And like we whooped them 24-9. But a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a Jets defense." Like, I mean, a win's a win. I'll take it anyway, shape or form. But
yeah. Well, I guess we'll come back to you, Jordan, because once again, Dylan has to go. So,
yeah.
Dylan, what will be your picks for week 2? So Thursday night game, Chargers.
Chargers.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Chiefs in this one. I think it's actually going to be a pretty easier pick than what it goes down to. The Chargers have no Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams did not look good week 1. Keenan Allen's going to be out for a little bit. Joshua Palmer. I feel like if any of you guys play fantasy, I feel like might be a decent waiver wire pickup, Josh Palmer. But outside of that, I just feel like the Chiefs, like Patrick Mahomes, is a man. He's good. Like he knows how to play football, and I feel like we obviously all knew that answer, but
right.
He just showed a different level. Like even if they're going against the Cardinals, like that's a team some people think can make the playoffs, and he's a different animal. I'm picking the Chiefs for the Thursday night game. My lock of the week, it was tough. I mean, this is a pretty like evened out schedule, but I feel like if I have to add a lock of the week, I'm going to go the Rams over the Falcons. I feel like the Rams are going to be like a little upset after that first week. The Falcons had a game that they should have won and ended up blowing it in typical Falcons style.
Exactly.
So I feel like the Rams are going to be a little more hungrier for a win, especially after getting embarrassed. And I believe it was embarrassed. A lot of people talked about it, and I feel like the Rams are going to want to go out and have something to prove. So I think my lock of the week is going to be Rams and Falcons. An upset of the week was tough. Like a lot of the team matchups are like pretty like even in comparison. But if I had to pick one upset, the Texans at the Broncos is a little interesting just because Texans, I mean, they had that good win. But man, looking at it,
I think we all can agree with this comment that Mahomes clearly doesn't need Tyreek.
Tyreek? No.
Yeah.
A lot of people were talking about how Travis Kelce was going to be used as a lot more in this offense and a bigger weapon, and I believed in it. There's also people who thought Travis Kelce was going to take like a dip in production, and I'm glad that didn't happen. He won me fantasy this week. Same with Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
If I had to pick an upset this week, man, I guess the Dolphins. I mean, would the Dolphins over the Ravens be considered an upset in your guys' mind?
Yeah, the Ravens are favored.
They are favored?
3.5. So yeah,
I think my upset of the week, I would do something along the lines of Dolphins versus Ravens. Then I feel like the Dolphins could come out there with a scheme. They still have like a bunch of backyard football-ish players. I feel like they could come out with a scheme and shock the Ravens. I feel like the Dolphins also still have a pretty good defense, something that could maybe contain Lamar Jackson. I mean, they don't need to completely lock down Lamar Jackson for the game, but if they can do enough to like contain him and let their offense work. I mean, Tua looked pretty good out there for their first game. Their offense looked really, I would say, pretty serviceable. I mean, Jalen Waddle scored a touchdown. I feel like this is a good offense, and I feel like it's definitely a possible win for them.
Okay. And we're going to add the Sunday and Monday night games as well.
Oh, Sunday and Monday night? So the
Sunday night
game is
Bears-Packers.
Bears-Packers? Packers. Easy. I feel like Aaron Rodgers, they're going to have something to prove. That 49ers-Bears game was a little weird. I don't know. I think it might have just been all the rain and stuff. It was definitely an interesting game. I really wasn't super impressed by the Bears either. I feel like the Packers are definitely going to just go in there, put their heads down, and just work. I feel like the Packers will get this win. And then the Monday night game is Vikings-Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go the Eagles on that one. I really like how the Eagles look. Granted, they led up 35 points to the Lions. I feel like the Lions are always going to be one of those teams that can just keep it close with whoever. They might not be a team who wins a lot of games, but they're just going to fight you to death. And that's just how I feel. The Vikings did look really good. Justin Jefferson looked good. Still only scored 23 points. What was it, 23? Yeah, it was 23-7.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the Eagles look good. They had a very balanced passing attack. A.J. Brown looked good. They didn't throw to Devonta Smith, which is someone I almost had as like a fantasy breakout star this week. Glad I didn't say that. A.J. Brown looked really good, and this Eagles offense looked really good. I feel like the Eagles are hungry, and I feel like them winning these early on games are going to mean a lot, especially in a division now that looks a lot more easier to win without Dak Prescott being at the helm at least for 4 weeks, according to Jerry Jones. But I feel like this Eagle team just wants to go out and prove that they can be the top or be one of those best teams in the league. And I feel like they'll get it done. It's going to be at Philadelphia. I'm not sure if that's going to be their first home game. I think, did they play at Philly last week? No, they played at Detroit last week. So it's going to be their first home game of the season. So I feel like they're going to have a lot to prove, and they're going to go out there and win it.
Okay. We do have the second Monday night game, Titans-Bills.
Okay. So I thought I had that. I thought I wrote that down as Monday, but messed up. Bills, the Titans ended up blowing that lead. Derrick Henry, like we even said on our last podcast, he's someone who's being run a lot, and he didn't look super impressive in his first game. I mean, Dontrell Hilliard looked more impressive than him, and that's their backup running back. Treylon Burks was fine. They ended up having a late round rookie receiver being their leading receiver, not Robert Woods or Treylon Burks. They ended up just blowing that lead to the Giants, a game that they should have had won. They had a 13-0 lead. They should have won it. And then the Bills, they just look dominant. I mean, if they lose this game against the Titans, it's going to be pretty weird, especially beating the Rams the way they did. It would definitely be an upset if the Titans did win. I think a massive upset, probably one of the biggest ones of the week if it were to happen. But I just don't see any way it's happening.
They have the Bills as a 10-point favorite, so that'd be a pretty big deal.
I think the Bills are just going to steamroll them. I think it might not be like a 30-40 point game, but I imagine like a 20-point win for the Bills.
Okay. Well, I mean, Dylan, I know you got to run, so I guess.
Yep. I gotta head off to work, sadly.
All right. Yeah. No, that's cool.
Make that bread, man. Make that bread, bro.
Yeah. You guys have a good rest of the podcast. I'll definitely listen in on the way there.
All right.
All right, man.
All right. See you guys later. See you guys next week.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bye.
All right. So Jordan, I guess we can go a little bit more into week one before getting our picks and then getting up out of here.
So week one, okay. Let me go back.
Yeah. So you went to the Ravens game. Did you see any other games as well, or?
So yeah, it was cool. Like they were like, between the TV timeouts, they were kind of like playing the other games live.
Okay.
The shocker was, well, I don't think I picked the shocker, but the shocker of week one was probably the first tie game of the season. Week one, which was the what was the Texans and
the Colts and the Texans. Yeah.
Colts and Texans. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all picked the Texans to lose last week because of the way like their team is built. And we know that Matt Ryan's the quarterback for the Colts, and that probably would have gave them an edge on winning the game. But the tie, I mean, there was crazy games all across the board in week one. Like,
because we almost had a tie in the Bengals Steelers game too.
Oh yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, the shocking one. Well, there's two shocking ones, or a couple of them. The one was a tie game, and then the one that shocked me was the 49ers and Bears. Bears, I mean, who would have thought they'd be 1-0 start off the season? But then again, like the rain factored into that.
Yeah.
Trey Lance kind of had a bad game.
Well, it seemed like with the Niners, they were taking the conservative approach with Trey Lance, and probably the weather had to deal with that. But I think they'll be fine. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of fans of the 49ers who are probably looking for Jimmy G to come in, but I mean, I'm not going to think too much of a performance like that in basically a downpour. And the Bears defense is something that's okay, I guess. They have a couple of guys on defense that are playmakers, I would say.
But like all across the board, like, I mean, other than the Bills, Rams, Ravens, Jets, 49ers or Chiefs and Cardinals, and Dolphins and Patriots. They're all like close games. I mean, Giants beat the Titans by 1 point.
Mhm.
And then also the Vikings Packers was it was not close.
Yeah.
But like the Raiders Chargers 1924, Cowboys 1903. That's not close, but
Yeah.
but the other games were kind of close. Like Saints beat the Falcons by 1 point. So yeah, I mean, week 1 was crazy, man, with scores. I mean, I thought the Bengals were going to beat the Steelers, but because Bengals were in the championship game last year,
Mm-hmm.
and but the Steelers put up a fight with the QB they had with Mr. Trubisky. He kind of had a bad game. But like you said,
mean,
like
he was fine.
I mean, he did his thing, but
yeah.
I mean, I thought the Bengals were going to win because they're the favorite. But a lot of so like I'm in Jersey, right? So imagine if the Giants failed that two-point conversion to win the game.
Because I was about to ask that.
New York,
were you okay with that?
Yeah, I was, because I'm not a Giants fan, but I was thinking in my head like, yo, I know the New York media is tough. If the Giants fail the two-point conversion, they're gonna be all up in their Giants business, like. But they had Barkley, man. He got it done.
I think what helps is the fact
it was risky.
They were going up against a team that a lot of people thought was going to beat them. So I wasn't mad at them taking the chance at going for 2 to get the win, because worst case is, yeah, you look kind of foolish losing that way. But when most of the people were picking against you, I'm okay going for it.
Right.
Because, I mean, yeah, it's high risk, high reward. But for a team that, there aren't a lot of expectations on them doing well, a win like that, could propel them over the next couple of weeks to play a little better. And maybe they steal another win here or there, and now their season looks a little better than it did in the offseason. I mean, the Titans should have never put themselves in that situation.
No.
So them losing like that, I think it looks worse on them than if the Giants failed that conversion, because, yeah, most people thought Derrick Henry could probably control the clock, and the Giants, their offense isn't that great. So it should have been an easy one for Tennessee.
Yeah, Giants, I mean, if they would have kicked that field goal, it would be tied. I mean, the Giants knew that, I mean, like you said, Tannehill and Henry, that's all they needed to cut that clock down. And then to go for a field goal and win the game. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like Russian roulette. Like, you take chances. And I was like, please, if you could, because they weren't really near the goal line. Like they were right there, but they weren't like right there at the goal line. Like he had to like work to get to
I think
to the end zone.
They're on like the
fifth
extra points. They're on like the 2. I think they put on the 2 if you go for 2.
So, exactly. Yep. And like, yeah, it was worth paying for it. So, I mean, they're 1-0. I mean, who do they play next week? The Giants.
That's a good question. Giants have the Panthers.
The Panthers. That can be a toss-up game too.
Yeah, so the Giants could find themselves 2-0 after 2 weeks. But like you were talking about around the goal line, we saw that as a big thing in the Denver game, because the Broncos had several opportunities in the red zone, and they had the Melvin Gordon fumble as he was going in for a score. And then I think Javonte Williams had a fumble as he was going in for a score. And in the grand scheme of things, those 2 plays really swung the game in favor of Seattle, because, I mean, if they score those 2 touchdowns, you're not even looking at a late field goal and you're having a comfortable win. So there's always a risk when I guess you put yourselves in situations where a turnover can happen. But what we also saw from week 1, not every kick is a guarantee, because there's a lot of missed kicks in week 1 as well. So,
I mean, what were the Broncos thinking of? Like, did they not know they don't have Justin Tucker? He is not Justin Tucker. He's not going to kick a 64-yard field goal. Like, they're right by the logo.
McManus had the leg for it. It was just that he just pulled it a little bit to the left. Yeah,
to the left. Yeah,
and plus it was 4th down at that point. So taking that risk, I think it would have been like 4th and I want to say it'd been like 4th and 8 or something.
Yeah.
So that's not a gimme either.
With the new head coach, he came out and said, now after that, he was like, oh, yeah, I should have went for on 4th and 5th. But that's just proven, or maybe not proven yet, but like, do you not have faith in Russell Wilson to get that first down conversion? I mean, that's a good question. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if they would have went for it, Russell, he would have put that team in a better position to, you know, go for a lead. But knowing that, you know, like you said, he had the leg, but that's like the Giants and Titans. Like, I mean, obviously they weren't at the goal line, but like, hey, if we go for 4th and 5th, we still have a chance to win. If not, kick the field goal and see if we can tie it up or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that 4th down wasn't going to be a guarantee because Seattle's defense wasn't too bad all night. I mean, yeah, they got lucky with the 2 turnovers around the goal line, but I mean, as a defense, you have to be in position to cause those. So Seattle definitely played well. Geno Smith, I mean, he didn't put up like crazy numbers in terms of yardage, but he made a few big plays when they needed it. And I mean, for Hackett, the Broncos head coach, I mean, it's just a learning thing. You know, first game as a head coach. Now you can use that later in the season if that opportunity comes up again. Maybe on that drive you show a little bit more urgency to get further down the field because they played kind of a conservative approach. I think I said this earlier, but they did a lot of like dumping underneath just to move to get into field goal range. So, I mean, yeah, I think my pick was the Broncos to make the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that game doesn't change anything for me because I think Wilson will definitely have them better prepared next time. And it was the first game of the season. You know, teams are still getting comfortable with each other. I think you kind of ran through most of the results.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was flipping through a lot of games on Sunday because there was like great finishes everywhere.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I paid attention mainly to the Patriots game as a Patriots fan, and then the Falcons game being in Atlanta. The Falcons game was crazy because Jameis Winston and that offense, they could do nothing in the first half. But then, like, the Falcons kind of turned off their defensive pressure in the second half, and then Winston got more and more comfortable. And we saw Michael Thomas getting more involved. And he had a couple of great catches late in that game, which really turned the tide for them. But it was a tough loss for the Falcons, but it's kind of something that they've been dealing with for the past few years where there were several times where Matt Ryan was there. He'd give them a lead late, and then the defense would lose it, and then they end up losing the game. So that wasn't unexpected. And then for the Patriots, Dolphins, yeah, they lost 20-7, but the game was actually a lot closer than that score showed. Now, the Patriots did have their struggles on offense, so that's going to be something I'm going to be watching as the season goes on. I mean, the Dolphins look like a team that can make a little bit of noise because, I mean, Tyreek Hill he's just fast. That's what he is, and he's a pretty good route runner. But his speed can now open up Jalen Waddle or Chase Edmonds coming out of the backfield because he can, you know, catch the ball out of the backfield as well. Gesicki is a pretty good tight end. But yeah, you know, I'm not giving up on Patriots yet after one game. But I mean, Sports Talk with T, you know, I didn't want to bring this up because once again, as a Patriots fan, it's something I can go to. But as a Falcons fan, I mean, not a Falcons fan, but somebody who watches the Falcons and sees Falcons fans, they hate seeing this whole 28-3 thing. But that's true. Since then, I mean, Matt Ryan fell out of favor. He's now gone. That was probably Julio's best chance to win a ring in Atlanta. He's now gone. The whole organization, they've switched coaches since then. And now, yeah, it seems like they're stuck in another rough season ahead. But I guess we can talk about week 2 and kind of wrap this up. So for week 2, the picks, like Dylan ran through. So I guess we'll go with you, Jordan. So Thursday night, Chargers, Chiefs. Who do you have winning that one?
It's going to be a good one. Man. I think just because of Mahomes, I mean, damn, they got hurt. That's a hard one. I think I'm a.
Now, if it helps, It's in Kansas City.
Okay.
Maybe that sways your
And plus,
pick.
they're 4-point favorites too. The Chiefs.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go with Kansas City, but it's gonna be. I'm gonna say 27-24 Chiefs. It's gonna be a close one. That's gonna be. Yeah, I mean the way because like I played against someone at fantasy this week. I got messed up really badly because Mahomes put up like 33 points. 33 points, bro. Like he had like five touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Chiefs and the nail biter. But that's a game. What a game! Oh, for week 2 so to start off. Do you want me to go down the list, or you want me to? We're gonna.
Well, I guess go back. I mean, I would pick the Chiefs only because no Keenan Allen and Mike Williams struggling.
Yeah.
In a game where it could turn to a shootout, I think that's gonna kind of hurt the Chargers. Now, for the Chargers to win, though, Bosa on that defense, they're gonna have to get pressure on Mahomes. Otherwise, if you let him sit back there, he's too good. And even though there's no Tyreek Hill, as Sports Talk with T said, he's shown already he can still operate the offense without him. So I think the Chiefs will win that one. I mean, with the 4-point spread, I mean, I know we're not picking against the spread, but I see the Chiefs winning probably by at least a touchdown in that one. I could see it be a 10-point win for the Chiefs, to be honest.
For sure.
Then the next one, Sunday night, we'll do the primetime games, then get your lock-in upset.
Okay.
So Sunday night, Bears, Packers. What do you think?
Sunday night, Bears, Packers. Oh, that definitely Packers, man. Even though Rodgers didn't do good. Let me see this stats from game 1 real quick.
I try to tell. I've been trying to tell people that Minnesota and Kirk Cousins, if Kirk Cousins could ever put it together where he can play well Sunday after Sunday, and when they have primetime games, if he can play well in those games, I don't see why the Vikings can't win this division, because the Packers, offensively, they look like they're going to be in trouble against some teams on their schedule. And the Bears, that win over the 49ers is, you could say, kind of fool's gold, because the Bears don't have the greatest weapons at all, if any, besides Justin Fields. And then defensively, because of the offense being that bad, it could put a lot of pressure on the defense to try to play almost perfect to keep them in games. And we know Aaron Rodgers has the ability to put up points. It's just that I don't know. That game Sunday was pretty telling, because Minnesota got after him. He looked uncomfortable in the pocket. We saw him drive after drive going off to the sideline and doing his thing on the sideline where, he's pouting or he's just yelling and all that. And it made me think, because this is something I was thinking about. I watched Brady for a lot of years. He didn't have the greatest wide receiver groups every year, but he seemed to make wide receivers better that you wouldn't have thought about, because a lot of wide receivers would leave New England and you wouldn't really hear much from them. Mm-hmm. But for Aaron Rodgers, I always wonder, is he really one of those guys who can elevate maybe wide receivers and tight ends that you don't think are that great and take them to the next level? And I don't think he is one of those guys, because we saw last season he got in trouble in the playoffs because he only relied on Devontae Adams. And it's not like he didn't have talented wide receivers with him. Lazard, he can make plays, if you give him the opportunity. Valdez Scantling, who's now in, I can't remember, where did he go to Kansas City? I know he left, but I mean, he's somewhere else now, and I'm sure he'll be better off without Rodgers. So I think there's going to be a lot of frustrations with Aaron Rodgers early in the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears pulled off an upset.
That can be an upset for sure. I mean, because Aaron Rodgers, he definitely had a poor QBR rating.
Yeah.
Of 7.7 rating. He did do 20. I know 22 for 34 completion attempts. The one pick. I think Jordan Love came in
for 5 had a better QBR rating.
Yeah.
118. But like everyone was so intrigued to see how Aaron Rodgers was going to be without the first game without Devontae Adams, and we can all see that that was a big problem. The Vikings, I mean, Kirk Cousins had a better game. He only completed one more pass through 23 completions through attempts, and then he had a way better QBR rating than Aaron Rodgers at a 118. And I mean, I think they had a better cast of players. They have they had Justin Jefferson, Thielen, Dalvin Cook. I mean, all across the board. I mean, so I kind of feel bad for Aaron Rodgers because, like you said, there's gonna be a lot of frustration, a lot of anger.
I mean, he has pretty good running backs. AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones aren't
they're not bad. No.
Yeah.
But this receiving corps, I mean, I'm looking down the line, like they didn't really have a big game, you know. I mean, Watkins had 3 targets, 9 for 9 yards. Cobb had 3 targets for 8 yards for the longest. All across the board, I mean, the receiving corps is just not the same as it was last year due to Devontae Adams' departure. That's going to be a problem for this year because Aaron is not a Lamar Jackson. He can't really scramble unless he can go outside the pocket. But like when it comes to scrambling, like he's known as a pocket passer.
Right.
And without him having the targets that he needs, we'll see how he pulls through. But I think in that game, I'm picking the Packers, but there could be an upset because you know they were supposed to win that game against the Vikings, but because it was Aaron Rodgers. But I'm definitely picking. I don't know. I'm kind of picking the Packers because I think they'll have a bounce back game, but don't be surprised if Chicago upsets them.
I would probably go Packers too, only for it being at Lambeau Field and the kind of atmosphere that creates and how tough it is for some visiting teams to go in there. And I don't fully trust the Bears enough to really think, you know, they could pull off a second upset like that. And they'd probably have to score more than 19 to beat Green Bay. And I don't know if they're able to do that. But with the line at 10 for Green Bay, I would not be surprised if the Bears covered that, but I think the Packers do win it. I guess the 2 Monday night games. So Titans-Bills is the first Monday night game. Who do you have winning that one?
Which game?
Titans-Bills.
I'm definitely picking the Bills in that one.
Yeah, I think that's an easy pick this week.
Yeah, like we all said, like, you know, I don't like the fact that, you know, Henry's come off an injury and he's kind of like their piston. Like he's gonna be used a lot. It's gonna get like Henry is a phenomenal athlete, big dude, big running back, but he can't really do it all. Tannehill's kind of a sub-average quarterback. Like I said, Titans, they should have won that game against the Giants. They should never put themselves in that predicament for the Giants to come back. Just the fact of that fact. Definitely the Bills, how they played against the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champs. I had the Bills winning against the Titans. That's going to be a blowout, I think, for sure. But yeah, I picked the Bills in that game.
All right. Yeah, I'm going with the Bills. I think the way they looked against the Rams, it's scary for the AFC because if the Bills play like that week in and week out, I think they're easily the best team in the AFC. Because I think the one thing that held Josh Allen back was at times he'd get himself in trouble trying to push the ball downfield too much. And he, you know, has some untimely interceptions or whatever. But what I liked was against the Rams, he took what the defense gave him. If they dropped back too far, he had no problem dumping it off underneath. And then when the receivers are there downfield, he made plays downfield. Because I know a lot of times people don't like seeing quarterbacks dinking and dunking, but if that's what the defense gives you, take full advantage of it, and then you force the defense up. Now you can take your shot over the top. Then the last Monday night game, Vikings Eagles. Who you have in that one?
I like the Eagles in that one.
Okay.
Just because they have AJ Brown. He went off. He went off game one.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts. I mean, because he's a former Alabama quarterback. But yeah, I kind of have. Who's home? Is it the Eagles' home?
Yeah, it's in Philly.
Philly. So yeah, I kind of get the edge to Philly because they're home. And if Hurts can get like AJ Brown more involved, like he did in the week one, it's gonna be a blowout.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go with the Vikings on this one. I really liked what I saw Sunday against the Packers, and I thought their defense was flying around Rodgers. So Hurts does pose a different predicament because, Hurts can move in the pocket, and you have to worry if you rush too far upfield that he breaks that contain and then he gains yards with his legs. But I think if the Vikings can force Hurts to move the ball through the air, it'll give them a better chance. And I like I said, I like what Kirk Cousins did. I think he can repeat his performance. Jefferson was great. I feel like Thielen was a little quiet, so I'd expect to see more from him against Philly. And Dalvin Cook, because I've always said as long as Dalvin Cook stays healthy, the Vikings are very dangerous because he's really good in the running back position. It's just like I said, health has kind of been his worst enemy. And yeah, so I would take the Vikings in that one. I wouldn't use that as my upset pick because I guess they are the underdog in that one, but I like the Vikings there. All right, so now for final two picks before we get out of here. Who is your lock of the week and who is your upset pick of the week?
Let's go down the schedule. So I think my lock is going to be Bengals, Texans, Broncos, Commanders, Lions. Damn, there's a lot of good matchups.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lock is going to definitely be the Browns against the Jets.
Okay.
I hate to say that because me being a Rams fan, they're in the same division, but I mean, the Browns, the way they, I thought the Panthers were going to win since Baker Mayfield was on that team, but I think the Browns as a lock. And then my upset, I have the Saints beating the Buccaneers because the Saints, the Saints kind of have. Last year, the Saints beat the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers they don't have really like their O line. Their O line is depleted.
Mm-hmm.
Winston kind of had a bad first half. We kind of picked up. Tom had a good second half.
Yep.
With their, I think Kamara, he played or he. I honestly that game. Did he play?
Yeah.
Kamara played?
Yeah,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of see them as the upset of the week.
I can see that. They have been tough on Brady since he's been in Tampa Bay. For me, like I said, it is a tough week to pick a lock.
I know.
Actually, you know what? I think I found the perfect one. I'm gonna take the Bengals over the Cowboys. No Dak Prescott. Their backup.
Would that be an upset though? Because since Dak is not really playing, I don't know.
That's my lock. It's not.
Lock.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I think no Dak Prescott. It's gonna put a lot more on Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard in the backfield. I'm guessing they're gonna go with Will Grier at quarterback. I don't even know. You have questions at the quarterback. That's just gonna make it that much tougher. And the Bengals, after that loss to the Steelers, they're gonna be hungry to get their first win. And yeah, I think they should roll against the Cowboys. I think upset. This one, yes, it is tougher. I don't think I want to go back to the Bears again. I probably got lucky last week picking them.
How do you feel about the game for Miami Ravens? You got winning that game, Ravens and Miami.
I think the Ravens win it. Them being at home does help. I would like to see the Dolphins repeat their performance from week 1, see if they could be consistent with that.
Do you think Reed's going to be a problem for us?
My whole thing with Tyreek Hill is I feel like as long as you keep him out of the end zone, I think you're fine. Keep Miami between the 20s, force them to kick field goals when they make long drives, and with Tua will make mistakes throwing the ball. If you take advantage of those, you'll be fine. So I think Baltimore will beat Miami in that one. Okay, so I think upset. I think I'll go Panthers over the Giants. The Giants are a 2.5-point favorite, so
really?
Technically
Wow.
that would be an upset. I think Mayfield, another team that had a tough loss last week, and I am kind of a fan of Baker Mayfield. I know people want to compare him to Johnny Football and all that. I don't think.
I think he's way better than freaking Manziel.
Yeah, and the Giants still, they still have plenty of questions with their team. So I think the Panthers can pull that one out and get their first win. I think Mayfield. Yeah, I think Mayfield have a pretty good game in that one.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of silenced some of the critics that he has. Of course, some will always stick with him.
I'm trying to see who the favorite in my upset game is. Is it the Buccaneers?
You took the Saints, right?
Yeah, I took the Saints. Yeah, the
the Bucs are a field goal favorite.
Field goal favorites. So I kind of have them upsetting them for sure.
Yeah, that would be an upset. I mean, a minor one, but it'd be an upset.
I mean, I'm not sure if you want to talk about the Lamar contract or you want to say that for another episode.
I mean, we've been going
because it was a big. It was
been going for a while, so I mean, we could save that maybe for next week.
Yeah, because he did kind of do that before week 1 game, but it's all. We can say that for next week.
Yeah, because that way we can get more into it. But yeah, I mean, we covered everything, so
yeah.
I guess with that we can end this episode. I mean, Dylan had to leave early, but it was good hearing from him again, and good to see you as well, Jordan.
For sure, man.
I mean, we only have a few more days until week 2 gets started, so hopefully week 2 can live up to what week 1 was, and if it does,
Thursday. Thursday I don't got any school because my school is having since the president, we have a new president, so they're doing their whole inauguration for him, so they canceled school. So I'm not gonna be late because last week I was late for the I missed the first half of the Thursday night game, so
right. Yeah, I remember that.
I'm gonna be home all day so I can watch that game. So
okay,
it's gonna be a good game. Bills and Chiefs and
Chargers.
Yeah, it's gonna be good one.
All right, so we'll definitely be talking in the group chat during that game for sure.
Yeah.
I guess before we close it up, final thoughts on anything?
No, just it was a crazy week of week 1 games. A lot of shockers, and the first tie. I think the Colts and Texans made history with the first ever week 1. I'm not gonna do my research on that. I thought it was the Lions and Cardinals that tied it a couple seasons ago, but crazy week of sports, football.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that too.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's been a crazy week of football. Another crazy start of the week for football with the Chiefs and Chargers. Just everyone. Hopefully, everyone stays safe out there and is good out there, man. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, and of course, we are on Sports Empire Network, the Big 3 podcast. So to the Facebook and YouTube fam.
Don't we have another person on here, Tyler? Or
he couldn't make it this week.
Okay.
I think he was at work too. So hopefully we'll get him on next week.
Next
because
Tuesday.
normally, I guess for Facebook and YouTube, normally it's gonna be 4 of us, but the past couple weeks have been 3 of us. So hopefully we'll have all 4 next week. But yeah, so Facebook and YouTube, make sure you follow Sports Empire Network on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. That way, notify whenever a show pops up, and you might see one of us on a different show during the week other than Tuesday. Who knows? But make sure you come back next Tuesday where we will discuss some more topics. Definitely week 2, what happens there. So I guess with that, we'll say bye. And like Jordan said, hopefully you guys stay safe. And Jordan, you as well. And I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. You too, Kyle. Man, stay safe, brother.
All right. Appreciate it.